Speaking of roller coasters, which could be the segue for every segment on EP Live, I have joined by a good friend of mine in the video game community, somebody that has reported on all kinds of developments across games and popular culture for Ars Technica. This is Sam Machkovech, who I last spent a good portion of my time playing Destiny 2, sitting right beside, and we enjoyed that experience quite a bit. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Oh man, I remember when Destiny 2 was an exciting thing to look forward to.
Yes.
Back before they forgot how quality of life works over there.
I know, right? Oh yeah, they must just be killing themselves to add in new content over. It's a big problem in the video game industry, isn't it?
Yeah, they're doing their best.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, the big news today, and why I wanted you to come on the show and talk to us, Sam, is the Nintendo online services announcement. Obviously, the pricing is out there, the availability information is out there, and also the announcement of the lack of virtual console in the foreseeable future, at least for the Nintendo Switch. How did all of these announcements kind of hit home for you?
Well, it was interesting because we had already gotten a bunch of this information already. We knew that they were going to come in with this $20 a year price point. They'd even announced that, I want to say in a Wall Street Journal interview a long time ago, just getting that number out there for a much lower price, with that including certain features. And those have trickled out a bit more. We knew about this virtual console fake Netflix-style thing, where there would be games that came with that paying subscription. So if you paid your $20 a year, you would get access to various NES games. And now we have that list of 20. Oh, I'm sorry, that we know 20 will be there at launch, and we've gotten a list of 10 of those. But it took some follow-up questions for us to find out that we wouldn't be getting a standalone dedicated quote-unquote virtual console service, that we're basically going to get these NES games included if you pay, and that's it, which means no carrying over from either Wii U, Wii, or 3DS purchases. You're just sort of stuck without knowing what's going to be coming. And I have so many questions, because that doesn't mean we won't be getting older games, but it does make us wonder, are they going to come? Are we going to get a whole bunch of Super Nintendo, Game Boy, NES, and so on kind of systems like we have in the past? Is that changing? Is that dead? There's still way too much left to be questioned than answered, but I have a lot of thoughts on that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the major concerns with this idea is that we're going to have to always be online with our Switches in order to play some of these classic games, which kind of sucks, right? Like, we likely won't be able to play these classic NES games that are offered at launch on airplane trips, which is where the Switch becomes the most shining platform available, right?
And there's a chance that Nintendo will get that kind of thing straight. That being said, Nintendo is also the company that put out its companion smartphone app, which is required for chatting.
Yeah.
That's still been a mess over all this time. So it's very hard to extend a benefit of the doubt to Nintendo and say, oh, they'll make sure to allow, for example, 72 or 96 hours of offline time before you have to talk to a server again. That's absolutely up in the air. I mean, goodness, the PlayStation Vita even allowed that sort of offline access to PlayStation Plus fare, and you'd like to think Nintendo can do the same, but that will definitely remain to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's good news because there's extra value for the costs that we have all started to kind of accept with console gaming online. And I think that PlayStation Plus does a great job of giving you extras for your money, and so does Xbox Live Gold. And this is good news for that. It's less money, and it's, sounds like you get a lot of content. And Nintendo has been pretty good at giving you lots of little extra bits and pieces, but they have been incredibly evasive about the idea of carrying over stuff that you've already purchased. And they have been very good at selling us games over and over again. So I guess we got our answer now, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, they want us to keep on buying whatever miniature system they might have come out. Clearly, those are doing well, and there's no reason for them to stop pushing that. But I think they really have an opportunity to open this sort of stuff up, to look at the market and say, people desperately want this content, either on a Nintendo device, on a smartphone, or quite honestly, illegitimately.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a great chance for them to look at it and go, you know what? If you guys want to buy it again, we'll let you at least do that, and that may very well happen. or some sort of reward or understanding of what's been purchased previously. I mean, goodness, right now, all I can think about is what, if anything, are we going to get for GameCube Virtual Console?
Yeah.
Now, remember that the Tegra chip that's inside your Nintendo Switch, that can play GameCube fair. And we know this because Twilight Princess came out in China exclusively for Tegra devices. And it works. So you'd like to think that they can just get, for example, Super Mario Sunshine up and running again for new fans without a ton of legwork to quote-unquote remaster it the way the Wind Waker got upsampled and retreated over for the Wii U. So
yeah.
I would really love for them to take an opportunity sooner than later to let us know that we can buy older software in a legitimate fashion and keep on playing it forever on a Nintendo console, as opposed to feeling like we're bad for wanting to find one way or another to get that fixed.
Or having to like find the hardware to be able to play these games. I mean, one of the things, this prompted a tweet from me today, because as I think about it, I mean, we are, as all of these companies are subscription-based online, and they've got your regular sort of cash coming in every month, the move is going to be, you know, even a bigger deal in video games to get people to buy titles on their digital stores. And if we are losing the access to these games off of these stores every console generation, that's just not acceptable anymore. And Microsoft's actually making some really great moves right now, allowing us to play, like for PR purposes alone, just the ability to pick up one of our old Xbox original discs and stick it into our Xbox One is such a cool thing. And I feel like all the other companies should be doing something similar.
I wish they were as well. And I think, you know, we talked briefly on Twitter, and this is why we even came on, because the market is kind of speaking, because you've got PlayStation 4 and Switch, which are moving off shelves and have terrible public facing personas about what you can do with your old purchases on those hardware. Whereas Microsoft, which is at least in the, I mean, I guess everywhere in sort of a last place position, they're still moving systems, they're still selling. But as a last place company, they have sort of a reason to get out there and say, you know what, these older pieces of software are going to work. And not only that, get on that Xbox One X if you want to play, you know, your older Panzer Dragoon game with incredible super scaled resolution and all that sort of stuff. And that's great. But I can't do the same thing with PlayStation 3 games unless I'm using PlayStation Now and jumping into a cloud service. And even then, I'm still having to pay for stuff that I already bought before.
Yeah, right. It's not just your online fee. You also have to pay another PlayStation Now fee, which is, it's kind of crazy.
It's just, there's a lot of this sort of what I feel like is ultimately anti-consumer, because there's a chance to really hug people to say, we've got your money, and if you stay on our ecosystem, you'll probably keep giving us money. And I'm glad that Xbox is there. I think that's pro-consumer makes companies money, is what we've seen time and time again. And it's good to see at least the last place person punching up for our benefit, because I want to play those older games.
Well, and also to have Phil from Xbox go out and just, you know, say emphatically that the preservation of those classic titles is incredibly important to the company, that's a big deal. You know, that's a really, really big deal. It's not that I don't think that PlayStation or Nintendo don't value their archive or their older library at all. They do, and they find ways to resell it to us. But I feel like that preservation of existing sort of content and data that you already own is incredibly important, and it's a valuable it's a valuable give back from the corporation that you are investing in, right?
I would say that I think it's imperative that we have ways to play original code whenever possible. The Shadow of the Colossus remake, I think, is fantastic. I also think it makes some really deliberate art decisions, and I think 10, 20, 30 years down the line, it should be easy for people to play that original code, look at that original artistic intent, and also get a chance at the remaster and things like that. And so moves like this seem to push away from that. Nintendo is in a position to either play some of the older code or package stuff up in a sort of remastered or bundled in a little plastic box way. Because, you know, you grab your Super Nintendo Classic and it's cute and it's convenient, but it's running on emulation. It's not pure code. There's all these little different ways that older software preservation can go awry. And I'll tell you, that Xbox One backwards compatibility stuff is really good at preserving original intent and using simple things like the way they handle textures in this way that doesn't mess up the original vision but cleans it up for a newer, nicer television. It's just awesome. And so I'm glad they're doing it, and all we can do as critics and fans is say, awesome that they're doing it, support it, and buy it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just fun to go back into those games, man. I've streamed Panzer Dragoon, and today we're going to be taking a look at Burnout Revenge and looked at SSX3. Valuable, important stuff. Okay, but let's look to the future a little bit, because I think we're of the same mind here. But let's talk about E3. We're just starting to kind of make our predictions and things like that, but it's coming. The behemoth is headed our way. Why don't you give me 3 predictions that you've got for E3 this year?
You know, it's starting to get tough, Victor. I don't know about you, but my inbox is filling up with things that have non-disclosure agreements and confidentiality. There's little bits here and there. So I have to be careful. But first off, we do know something in the way of Smash Brothers from Nintendo is coming. They've not been shy about having an invitational where people will be able to play, I believe, the newest version of whatever it will be titled. We know many characters' silhouettes appeared in that splashy reveal. We know the Splatoon shooters kids. Oh my goodness, I'm blanking on their squid kids.
Inklings.
Yeah, Inklings. They'll be in there. I think that'll be really fun, and that's just going to be an easy sort of path. And my question is whether or not Nintendo will use that opportunity to also simultaneously unveil Melee. I'm not saying that I have any information in either way. This is wishful thinking. But like I said, the Tegra chip is really good with GameCube software. We've seen it. And I think that sort of simultaneous reveal would not eat into sales of a new Smash. I have no reason to believe that will definitely happen, but I'm putting that out there as a question mark of what, if anything, from the GameCube era will we see. So
you don't think it would eat into sales? I think people would go,
no, I think
they'd want both.
I don't know that they would use E3 as the stage to say that, but it would be a really interesting surprise and way to push sort of a viral speech. And because Melee is still played in a huge way, and Nintendo is starting to pay more attention to that streaming stuff, and they always say, just wait, and we hear you, and we hear you.
That's
so
cool.
If they're doing a Smash Invitational at E3, that's an opportunity for them to talk about Smash and esports, because those are hand in hand in a big way, bigger than ARMS and bigger than any of other Nintendo esports properties. So there's sort of a number one thought.
Ooh, I like it.
Number two is that if we don't get something big and Halo related at this E3, then 343 is going to be disbanded because it's been long enough. That doesn't mean it needs to be a Master Chief first-person, big old gotta be Halo 6 or whatever the heck they would call it.
Yeah.
But I just think it's insane to imagine an E3 without something like that.
Right.
And I imagine that'll go hand in hand with more on the progress they've made over there on the Master Chief collection. It's been 4 years, and they're finally putting it back together and getting the fixes, and they've been really vocal at their development blog about progress on that. So I don't think that's going to be like a huge reveal about Master Chief Collection, perhaps a date or a window, but I see Halo figuring in a big way because that's the conversation as of late is what are the big Microsoft exclusives. It hasn't been great. I mean, the Xbox Game Pass I think has awesome stuff, but everyone has talked about that being a thing they're flagging behind. So that and some sort of a new IP surprise. What that would be, I don't know. That's totally up in the air because there's so many different moving parts. Remedy, for example, is not quite affiliated with Microsoft anymore, but they still have that relationship. So who knows if they come up with something in that regard or some other franchise we haven't heard of from a long time. But I do see Halo hand in hand with some other new IP or recognizable big thing.
Awesome. One more.
And then I think Last of Us 2 is just going to get something huge. I would not be surprised to see the Sony keynote stage just curtains open and some incredibly long, detailed dialogue and action-filled sequence that just shows how far Last of Us 2 is coming. Plus Spider-Man. I mean, the Sony stage can take those two things that we already know about, give us long, detailed cinematic gameplay sequences, and everyone's going to go, yay, they win, they win. Beyond all the other stuff affiliated, who knows what we're going to hear about the Kingdom Hearts franchise, about Final Fantasy. There's a lot that Sony already has just in its sort of umbrella of first and third party that's already been shown at other stages. So I just think it's a question of, how much we can ingest at the Sony stage before we explode. I imagine it'll be huge because I think this is the last big PlayStation 4 E3.
Yeah.
We're probably not going to hear about PlayStation 5, but the rumblings for the next gen are coming, and so I think this is going to be the year where the entire PlayStation 4 portfolio of what is and what will be will be revealed.
That's a pretty big announcement. That's a pretty big prediction. I like that one very much. Sam, this was fantastic, brother. We'll have to have you on the show again soon, okay?
Always happy to be on. Thanks for having me on, Victor.
All right, Matt. You have a great day. We'll see you very soon. Probably next week, I think. Yeah.
Sounds like it. Yeah, yeah.